Good morning. That sounds great, babe. Good morning, guys. Ethereum looking a little bit better. Gold at a new all-time high. It looks like we're probably going to have a new all-time closing high in the S&P 500. Gotta admit, things look pretty good. Things look pretty good. So long as rate cuts stay on the table, and if rate cuts stay on the table, and companies keep beating earnings rate, raising guidance, I think the market's really primed for higher. Yeah, look at the Russell. I would say the big beneficiary of rate cuts is acting well here. Yeah, James, I'm working on something like that with IU. We'll see. Maybe later this year. My plate's kind of full with wedding planning stuff, but I got in PDD a few days ago just to break over prior day high. Yeah, MU looks awesome, man. MU looks absolutely awesome. So the way I kind of viewed a PDD was you can see along the 20-day how many times this thing was just bouncing along the 20-day, and I kind of noticed the same thing a few days ago. So I just bought it basically 122.5 as it was taking out a prior day high. And then yesterday it really did nothing. And then obviously a small little gap up this morning, which is always welcomed. And now I can just kind of hold it using this 20-day as my guide. Yeah, NVIDIA lagging a little bit because OpenAI is going to be building AI chips with AVGO was the news today. So not only is NVIDIA lagging a little bit on that, so is AMD a little bit, right? They are down and not really bouncing here with the market. And then obviously AVGO is a rocket. So there's that. Holy cow. Hell of a move. How do you get a tight entry in A-Lab? Well, I talked about this yesterday if you were here for pre-market prep. I thought over this 180, 181 level was pretty interesting. So, your entry really would have been just a break over prior day high. You could have snuck in a little bit earlier, but right when things were turning back up and the market was bouncing, 180, 181 with the stop at low of day was pretty good. And then, you got a 12-point move so far. Very nice. George, thanks for being here, brother. Thanks for being here. Here's the thing. So I've been, we've been seeing a lot of the chop, and for a few weeks now, I've been calling for either a pullback or really some digestion. And, when you just kind of look at the NQ, right, this is sideways action for a month. People have gotten chopped up in here. I've literally been doing the least. I've been doing the least amount I can during this sideways environment. But when I look at a name like ANET, or I look at something like CLS, right? You look at ANET, right? You look at, making a new all-time high. You look at a CLS, you start to realize like names out there are still trying. This is unbelievable. Geez, 36. What the hell is going on? You realize like names are trying to make moves, in particular ones that are still in uptrends. There are names out there that are, kind of on the struggle bus right now. Maybe call it a Palantir, and maybe call it a little bit of an NVIDIA. I mean, that's fine. But NVIDIA is allowed to take a break with what it's done. And money is going to other places, whether it's home builders, solars, some biotechs recently. Gold's been getting some love. Small caps have continued to get love. AVGO and CRDO for the semi space are still holding in there. Tesla looks like it's trying to wake up. Apple's hanging in there back above the 200. Google's starting to look a whole lot, like a leader in a new all-time high, effectively, price discovery territory. So you've kind of got all these things going on that, like, I think, NVIDIA taking a break, maybe Meta taking a break, AMD taking a break, Microsoft not doing too much. There's nothing wrong with that because there's enough names that are being rotated into to make the market buoyant. I mean, banks were making a new all-time high yesterday. You just can't be negative for the sake of being negative. But when you recognize the chop, kind of just being a little bit more cautious or changing your entry tactic, buying pullbacks to ascending moving averages becomes the move. I do. Yeah, I like to buy undercut and rallies and 50 simple moving average reclaims, 20 simple moving average reclaims. My thoughts on TLN, that's an energy name, right? I think this thing looks pretty good if I came across this one properly. Yeah, TLN looks awesome. Looks absolutely awesome. And won't be surprised if we're higher soon. Whoops. Thoughts on AUPH? A little thin. It's not bad, but it's kind of thin. My thoughts on Oster? Yeah, this is just building a higher low, potentially off the 50-day. Could be viable if we take out, today's highs and is pushing. URA ready today. I didn't really like what URNM was doing the other day. I mean, CCJ, this, I look at this, I don't see a setup. I mean, maybe CCJ over yesterday's highs, maybe. And then that would obviously be with uranium. Yeah, I mean, this looks a little like, CCJ. I'm not sure. I don't look at that setup and I don't get excited. You know, I got to get a little excited, and that one doesn't get me too excited. BWXT, LEU. I mean, LEU could be interesting too over yesterday's highs, 205.80s. I don't know. I don't look at these names and get overly excited right now. They've already made some pretty massive moves, although LEU looks pretty dang good. SoFi. No, it's not actually that extended from the 50-day. No, it's not extended from the 50-day. I just don't know if this little bull flag into the 20 is enough. Maybe. Mentally, it's you know, I would want a bigger base. I mean, I did buy this thing, you know, down here at 14 bucks, and I got shaken out a few days later. I literally bought this here, got shaken out here, and then look at what this thing did. A little frustrating, but TME looks good. This has been one of the better acting Chinese equities. 10 cent. But for me, my focus is PDD and BABA. Those are the two for me. But yeah, TME looks fine. I also don't know that I love you too much. I like to, you know, try to own names with good earnings and sales. You know, it makes life a whole lot less stressful, or, you know, makes trading a lot less stressful. Like when you focus on stocks in good groups with good technical setups, with good earnings and sales, you're really putting yourself in a good spot to succeed, and deal with less chop offerings and the whole 9 yards. I mean, you could definitely keep going higher. Very, very tight chart. Maybe taking out yesterday's highs looks pretty good. Peloton, I've got one of those. It's a really nice coat rack. I'm kidding. We have it in our workout room, and I just don't use it as much as I should. Yeah, Peloton was nice. Looks like yesterday went for it. Yeah, I don't know. I'll let it get itself into a better established stage 2 uptrend, and then I'll try to come get it. And then maybe it's a Carvana 2.0. WT, yeah, this does look great. You know, the only problem with WT, and this looks amazing, the only problem with this name is it's slow. If it weren't so damn slow, it would look even better. Uber could be, you know, just a nice little 50 simple moving average, undercut and rally. Looks good. I think Uber doesn't look too bad. You know, we're hanging out right near an all-time high, a couple points. Not bad. MTCH. Yeah, this looks like a little, I mean, there are so many names participating right now. Match. Is this like match.com or whatever? Aren't these the dating website people? You looks ready. I just don't love wedging price action. Like, I just don't love wedging price action. I want price to flatten out some. I could keep going. Yeah, BLDR, Pulte, all Home Depot. So like BLDR obviously is a store very similar to Home Depot. And then you've got Pulte, the home builders. You've got KB Homes. Whoops. You've got KB Homes. You've got Toll. You've got Len. Yeah, I mean, these names, they all look identical. Deep Dive, I can see your message, brother. So you are sending a chat on screen. The year's 2040 and Uber. Yeah, it's not the fastest name, I'll tell you that. It's not the fastest. Tesla to me looks awesome. It's my main focus over the today and the coming days. IONQ Rigetti chopped for a bit. I'm pretty sure IONQ's been chopping already for long enough, don't you think? I like the higher base that this thing has created. All right, looks like a cup and a handle. It's a hell of a handle. You know, if you're a fan of the quantum stocks, you know, you're going to want to see this thing get going here pretty soon. Well, I was watching it yesterday, but no dice. Yeah, AMD is going to just have to reclaim its 50-day for me to be interested. You know, it is trying to hug these this 157.80 level. You know, maybe undercut and rally from there, but I'll just be patient. Yeah, I was watching Tesla. I put it in last night's watch list video. Watching Tesla over yesterday's highs, and obviously we're gapping up from there. So, you know, we'll see if we can get a quick little morning flush. I don't know that we will, but something to keep an eye on. Oh, CLS is on fire. Had I held my original position, it would be a really nice 7-fig winner. And unfortunately, I'm just a dipshit who sold it too early. I mean, look at the price action on ARQT. Does this look like something you really want to own? I mean, yes, it's in an uptrend according to this 200-day, right? It's in an uptrend. But is this like, you know, even like this thing makes a nice, clean, linear move. Boom, this is great. Like this price action here is awesome. And then all of a sudden it just goes to shit, right? And then it just goes sideways for a real long time. And by the way, this is healthy. But then all of a sudden, like you start looking at this and it's just crap. It's just shitty price action. Just is what it is. Yeah, but I'm not going to trade the OTCs. Amazon to me looks like, you know, although it's kind of slow and I know they've got a few leverage names with it, it looks like this one will be at 250 soon. Probably. Yeah, those names have been acting well. Those construction, infrastructure names, there's been some good stuff going on here. Yeah, these things look great. This STRL looks awesome. Wolf, a little bit of relative weakness yesterday. Yeah, it could be. Crude oil continuing lower. Am I watching any of these stocks today? TEM, SHOP, ALAB, SE, ANET. I'm watching all of those today, my friend. MDB? No, this is kind of what you want to see. right? You had the move, and now you've kind of got a little high tight flag being built. This isn't extended. I mean, maybe a little bit extended from the 50-day because of the earnings gap
Saudi
up.
Arabia wants OPEC to speed up next oil production boost.
Bros also looks really good. Yeah, I like Bros too. Spot also has built a nice base as well. Yeah, Spot looks fine. Netflix with a really nice move yesterday. These kind of look like they're ready to continue higher. If I was going to play a Bitcoin name at this point, would it be an ETF or a miner or coin? It would be, I know they're a little bit slower, but if Ethereum were to keep going higher, I would play ETHU. And if Hood sets back up, I would play Hood. It's kind of crypto related too. I don't mind coin, but it's got to reclaim its 50-day. So it's got quite a bit of work to do. Or I would wait for Iron, Hut, or Wolf to get going. And yesterday they were showing a little bit of relative weakness. So not bad, but I need a new base here. I mean, I feel a little shitty because I was watching this thing down here. I was watching Hut at 18. And it went to 28. So just got to kind of be patient with that. Do I consider RZLV to be in a stage 2 uptrend? Well, is the 200 simple moving average sloping up or sloping down, or is it flat? And then you have your answer. I mean, technically, it's it's a recent IPO. It like just had 200 days of price action like last month, 2 months ago. Yeah, CCJ's fine. LEU's fine. They need to get going. Race is not that it's too thin, it's too slow. And that's Ferrari, which is, of all the funny things in the world, Ferrari having a slow stock. I don't know why you would want to own Intel when there are way better semiconductors out there. A Tiger, here's another one. Like you got to not value your mental sanity to play this thing. Yes, it's in an uptrend. Yes, it's gapping up again overnight, but look at this price action. Do you value your mental sanity? This tells me you've got no respect for your heart and your head. Like this would give me a headache to own this. Love yourself a little bit more. Don't trade this shit. I mean, you could own it. If you want to own it, dude. But squeeze your balls, squeeze them tight, because going through this kind of shit, this is heartburn. MP double bottom. I don't know, maybe. It could be buyable off the 50-day if it were to come down there. Could also be an undercut rally if we reclaim $65, call it. I'm not playing AEO as a HVC setup. I'm not buying this name up 30%. I'd wait for a continuation setup like a high type flag. Yeah, the Russell 2000 has been interesting. I don't know if you've been following along any of my tweets for the last month, but I've been of the opinion that long Russell, short NASDAQ is the move. Thoughts on buying the bottom on Hood? Well, if I knew this was the bottom, I'd be a billionaire. No, but normally the first pullback to the 50-day after a really nice uptrend is typically buyable. So I am going to have my eyes on this thing so long as we hold the 50-day. Roblox has been showing tons of relative strength. Yesterday was a little bit weird because the market was just grinding higher and Roblox was getting its ass kicked. So not really sure what to make of it, but I don't really want to make too much of a stink about a stock that continues to hold its 50-day. AVGO gap up, is that a question, or are we looking at the exact same charts? Are you asking me if it is a gap up? I'm not sure because it's 100% a gap up.
On SGBX, providing an update on Olenox progress. MLY.
What do I think of Reddit? I think it's acting really well.
Launch HDN trial.
Yeah, Reddit's acting fine. After the earnings move, all it's doing is finding support at the rising 20. Looks great.
Announces a 500 million share repurchase authorization.
I don't know how my trading style would evolve other than I would just take bigger positions, right? Like I can do what I'm doing, just taking bigger positions in the future, right? That's not a problem. Probably up to a couple $100 million. So I won't have an issue for a while. When I get there, then I'll let you guys know. You guys will probably see, water in the background as I'm on my boat. There will be signs. Yeah, JP Morgan's a little bit annoying, man. I own this thing at 268. I think banks look fine. If banks are acting well, semis are acting well, you're just not taking down the market, man. I got a couple golden doodles. Yeah, NXT looks great. Solars are looking fantastic. NXT, a run, Sedge, FSLR, those are kind of the four that I would be focused on. But NXT and FSLR and Sedge, if I had to narrow it down a little bit. Yeah, banks have boomer ADRs. They sure do. They sure do. Well, here's the thing. I actually risk less than 1% and it grows big. How do you grow an account? You don't lose money and you sit patiently with your winners. Okay, here, let me show you how you grow an account. Okay, so here's my ARC position. Okay, I still own it and I bought it down here and my risk is this. Okay, here, let me give you an example. This is my risk. Okay, and then you ready for the rest? And so far, that's been my reward. Okay, look at the risk. Look at my reward. Okay, how do you grow an account big? You sit your ass patiently in a nice trend. Okay, and could it keep going higher? You bet your ass it can. What do you mean risking 1% won't grow your account big? My friend, saying stuff like that just tells me you got lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of studying to do. saying risking only 1% of your account won't grow your account big. My goodness, brother, you got some studying to do, but guess what? You are in the right place. You're here. So you're at least doing yourself a service of at least trying to learn some. Yeah, you don't need to risk big to make a shitload of money, dude. What are we talking about here? Like, again, here's an example. I sold this one like shit, but I bought CLS down here. Okay, let me show you this. I bought CLS right here, over $100. Literally, right here, where that little dotted line is, on this day. Right, 512. Okay, look at what, if I sat patiently, which I didn't, look at what the reward is. And you want to know what my risk was on my portfolio? Peanuts, dude. And I'd be up over $1 million sitting on it. But I'm not. That's not the point. The point is showing up to buy the right thing at the right time and then just sitting patiently. Exactly, Judy. You could put 20% of your account. Read this, Akio. You could put 20% of your account into a position and risk a half of 1%. And then all of a sudden, you just made 20% of your portfolio plus in a move like this, close to, 25%. Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, he's confusing risk with size. Yeah, I don't take 1% portfolio positions. There are times I risk a 0.5%, but I've got 10 to 20 to 30% of my money working in one name. What time frame or entry criteria do you use? Oh man, keep showing up, and I'll talk about it a whole lot more over time. I focus on dailies. I focus on groups. I focus on technical setups. And I take my entries on a 5-minute chart effectively. But I'm only really caring about the daily. My brain is, what's the group doing? What's the daily doing? What's the market doing? And then I just take my granular entry on a 5-minute. And that's kind of how I can limit my risk. And my stops are typically low of day. That's it. Nothing more magical than that. I don't understand the question here. What was my return on total equity, right? Is that the rote per trade while you were day trading? Let's just put it like this. Percentage-wise, I made the most day trading because I started with like no capital. But dollar-wise, I have absolutely blown past what I made day trading. So, I can't spend percents in the real world, but I can spend dollars. And I've made way more dollars being a swing trader. Why do I say blanks plus semis doing well equals healthy market rather than other sectors? Well, because those are two of the biggest S&P 500 sectors. So if banks and semis are continuing to do well, you're not really going to take the market down. That's number one. And then now we're starting to get more groups acting well. Home builders, solars, construction names, some energy names recently. I mean, dude, just kind of look around. Cybersecurity is trying to hang in there. I mean, you've got more groups coming along that are acting well. All you need is software stocks to bottom, and you'll effectively have every group going up. Gold names, small caps, silver stocks, right? The only thing that's missing is like oil going up. Yeah, correct. My exits are trailing the 10 and the 20. How would I diversify a 50K account? How many positions? What sectors? That's the wrong question. What sectors? I don't personally care, right? I'm focused on the best sectors in the market. So the top 40 sectors, the top 40 groups. So I don't really care what the flavor of the month is. like I really do not care what the flavor of the month is. It could be, I mean, it could be any group going up. That doesn't matter. And then how would I get 50K account to work? Well, I would start using progressive exposure, and I'd start with $5,000 positions, and in a really aggressive position, take $10,000 position, and you're going to have anywhere from 5 to 10 names, and then you've got leverage. So, maybe 8 to 12 probably, and you could be fully leveraged, and you've got, 80 or 100,000 bucks working for you, and that's it. And what sectors? That's not up to me. That's up to the market. The market dictates where I put my money. I don't pick and choose. If companies that were jarring farts were going up, that's what I'd be buying next. Your stop is low of the day. If you enter it at market open, that might be a really tight stop. Nope. Not really. I've been sitting in CCL with a low of day stops for 3 months now. Right? I bought that on this day, and my stop's low of day. You guys want to see my risk reward on this one? Here, this one will blow your mind. There you go. There's my risk on this thing. And now look at my reward. About 20 times the multiple of my risk. So low of day stops are just fine. Your job is to show up and execute on a day in which the market's going up and the group is going up. If you're not focused on the group and on the market when you're buying something, then yeah, maybe low of day is too tight of a stop. But if that's your focus, that's how you stay in the game long. Guys, that's why I only have a 35% win rate, right? I'm wrong 65% of the time. But if I'm wrong 65% of the time and these are the kind of losses I'm taking, I'm staying in business forever. No, I'm not currently buying any gap ups. So like I'm not buying AEO because look, I was asked like yesterday, like, why didn't you buy AEO? And it's the same question as to why I didn't buy Sienna or CIEN. Because this is how some names are acting, right? They're just gapping up and then they're not really going anywhere, or they're gapping up and they're doing this, right? They gap up, they give you one awesome day, big pickup in volume, and then they go nowhere, right? I'm looking for continuation setups right now. Buying gap ups effectively this entire quarter has not been fruitful. So I'm not just going to ignore what I've been seeing just because of, one stock, finally gapping up and then following through. Right. If AEO is going to go to 40, then I'm going to have plenty of time to get involved. I have no idea. Also, it's not open day 2. I'm sure it can go higher, maybe $8, but this isn't day 2. The entry on this thing was 250. I use hard stops when I'm not at my desk. Oops. ADTN. No. Trade 7 million bucks a day, dude. Do I trade pre-market or wait for market open? Most times I just wait for market open. CRDO, again, that's a great example. Like, Ariel, why didn't you buy AEO? It's the same reason I didn't buy CRDO. You buy the gap up and then it still finishes in the green, but where do you buy it that you're not looking at red? Right? Affirm it would be better for something that I would be looking for. Yeah, that's a good one. This is can't fake rocks. This is perfect. Right? You get the earnings gap up, you get a pull back into the 5-day, and then you're looking for your entry off the 5-day. Much better. What live stream do I do in the Discord? Kind of exactly what I'm doing now. Just with 100 people instead of 2,300. Much less people, but we we're covering things as they're moving in real time instead of pre-market when there's a whole lot less action. I'm not in open, no, but congrats to those who are. 250 would have been the place to get them. Yeah, AVGO is great, but I won't be buying the earnings gap up. I'm not buying any earnings gap ups. I've just talked about that. And the reason why is too many earnings gap ups have gapped up and then done absolutely nothing. So I don't want to deal with that headache. Oh, yeah. Yeah, home builders are acting great. They've been acting great for a few weeks. Yeah, continuation setups is the way to go. Home Depot, very nice. What would I say my edge is? My edge is my patience. My edge is the use of progressive exposure. My edge is scanning the market really well. My edge is focusing on the stocks that are actually going up and not applying my own opinion to the market. I keep opinions all the time, but I'm very flexible on, those opinions. I don't know, man. I got a few edges. Tesla. Yeah, BTSG is not terrible. Can I explain progressive exposure? Yeah. So like imagine you had a 100K account. I don't go from having no money in the market to being fully invested in a day, right? So my focus is like every morning, what's my watch list? What are my alerts? How would I plan on getting into them? And a lot of this work I do the night before. So if an alert triggers and we're in a good market and the market's pushing and the group is pushing, I buy my setup, right? Break over prior day high, 620 setup, undercut and rally, whatever it might be, 5-minute opening range break, etc. And then let's just say I buy a $10,000 position on that 100K account, right? Then if I'm gaining traction on that position, it's one, because I'm in a good market. Two, I'm finding stocks in the right group. Three, I'm executing well and seeing things well. So those are all positives. And then the next day I go and I buy something else. You good, babe? Babe? So if things are working well, the next day I'll go and I'll buy something else, and then I'll buy something else. And effectively, I'm only putting more of my money to work as I'm, one, seeing things well. Two, I'm operating in the right group. Three, the market's being friendly and giving me follow through on my positions. Because if I'm not getting follow through on my positions, it's either me or it's the market, right? I'm either not seeing things well or the market's not being friendly, in which case I want to be trading my smallest, meaning I got stopped out of my $10,000 position. I took a 3% loss on that, right? Or 4% stop to low of day, right? So peanut loss to the portfolio overall. And then I will try again and again, but I'm always doing my best to try and operate when the market's acting best. And that's important. So progressive exposure is just trading your full portfolio, when the market has given you a lot of setups to trade, a lot of follow through in a good environment, not so choppy. And that's kind of the way I view it, like getting more aggressive behind things that are working. Give me a second, guys. All right. So yeah, hopefully that explanation of progressive exposure makes sense. Like, I'm not just forcing my way into the market has to pull me in. That's the important part. Like, I'm never just getting more aggressive for the sake of getting more aggressive, right? And I'm not getting more aggressive behind losers. I'm getting more aggressive behind winners. I like Christian. Yeah, Christian. There you go. Look that one up if you could. How do I scan the sectors and watch them? Well, what you guys aren't seeing is I'm surrounded by 5 monitors. So I keep my entire watch list up on charts. And then I also have alerts set. So when they trigger, I get an alert right in front of my face that a stock is breaking a certain level. What advice and tips would I give to somebody working a 9-to-5 job? Do your homework the night before. You want to know what stocks you want to be in the night before, not the morning of. You don't want to be like a, chicken scrambling with your head cut off. Like, oh my God, this is moving, this is moving, this is moving. Everything's fucking moving in the morning, right? Your job is to kind of narrow your focus the night before and say to yourself, okay, these are the stocks that I'm most interested in. This is what I would be expecting them to do, under XYZ scenario. This is how I'd want to enter them. And then that's it. And then if that thing starts to happen, you can get involved in that name. Where would I look to get involved in the Tesla? Yeah, I'm looking at it now. Man, it's gapping up a shitload. I don't know. I don't really keep opinions about that. The market just went sideways for a month. That's a really nice base. I don't know what leg of the bull market this is in. It feels like we could be starting the second leg, but I don't know how many legs we got. Right? We could have 3 legs, could have 4 legs, 5 legs. I have no clue. All right, guys. I will see you guys all Monday morning. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Hopefully you learned a little something today, and I will see you guys all Monday. You guys trade them well today. Don't do anything crazy out there and ruin your weekend. You don't have to chase anything right at the open. Let the market settle for the first 15 minutes. You don't know if this gap up will be sold into, or you don't know if, they sell into the gap and then buy the dip. So just be a little bit patient at the open and have your names. I will see you guys all on Monday morning. Thanks. We'll talk to you.